All right, peace and blessings, everybody. This is Brother Yosef. Namaste. How y'all doing? I'm back with another video. Um, in this video here, we're going to talk about the ancestors and the importance of the ancestors, and we're going to talk about a little bit about ancestor work and ancestor altars. Okay, and why I'm always talking about honoring your ancestors. Why is that so important? Okay, so we're going to get into that today. Before I start the video, I want to say, I noticed a lot of people lately has been coming to my Facebook page and friending me on Facebook. And I want to be honest with you guys, I'm not really on Facebook like that, like I used to be. I go on there once in a blue moon, to check on things, but I'm not really on Facebook like that. I got certain groups that I'm in and I watch things that's going on in the groups, but I'm not really, on Facebook like that. So, being out on Facebook, if you guys want to connect with me deeper, you have to go on Instagram, which is nulyfetools on Instagram, okay? And you could, I think it's nulyfetools on Instagram. Then it should say Brother Yosef, but it should have my logo or my face on there. So that's where you guys can hit me up at, on Instagram. All right. I'm not a Twitter guy. I'm not really a social media guy at all. Right. I'm a very low key to myself person, but I am on Instagram. Okay. So with that being said, let's get into the video. I want to start out by saying this. One thing you guys got to understand is that when we transition, right? When we transition, we go on to the next experience, whether it's back down to earth or to a higher dimension. What happens is your soul separates from your astral form. Okay. Your soul separates. Your soul goes back to your higher self, and you get new updates and new jobs, and you find out whether or not you completed your destiny. Some of us remember this interaction with our higher self. Some of us don't. But once everything is said and done, you're either going to go higher to another dimension, or you're going to come back down and be reincarnated into another family or another body. Once that happens, you go on and you keep doing this until you complete your destiny, what you were created for, right? So it doesn't matter who you are, where you come from, what color you were. Everybody is here for a reason, right? Some of those reasons are not good. Some of those reasons are good, right? But everybody's here for a reason. And until you complete that part or that destiny that you are given, then you're not really going to leave this domain, right? Unless you learn how to evolve. Unless you learn how to become enlightened, right? Once you become enlightened, that is the highest aspect of your destiny, is to become enlightened. But sometimes you can get off this earth plane just by completing your destiny, right? You have a destiny, you have a true destiny. Some of our destinies relate to the earth realm, right? And completing things down here in the third dimension. Your true destiny is to become evolved and to become enlightened, okay? Some people obtain that down here before they even complete their destiny, right? Those people get to go on, right? It's a passport, in so many words, being enlightened, to go up to higher dimensions, right? Your astral form, for the most part, what happens is the astral form goes to the astral world, right? And depending on what type of work you did down here, you can take your astral form with you, with your soul, and you can evolve. You can take mind, body, and soul and spirit with you up to the next dimension, depending on what type of school you were in down here. Some people deal with the soul only. Some people deal with the soul and the spirit. And some people deal with the mind. Some people deal with the soul, the spirit, and the body. Some people take all three. It depends on what school you come from. So with that being said, there's many paths to enlightenment, right? But you guys need to understand the astral form stays down here in the fourth dimension. And that part of you connects back to the third dimension, to the bloodline. So that astral form that you have was created by your parents, right? When your parents came together and they created a body for you, your physical body, they also created your astral form, right? And the astral form was created in the fourth dimension. Well, that astral form is also connected to a lineage of different astral entities or astral family, or what you call ancestors. Those ancestors also connected you and down here to the physical world, to the third dimension. So when you have people that have passed away, right, the main way that they can reach you, one of their energy signature is their astral form. right? The astral form is the energy signature that they left behind. The soul, the true them, has gone on to another experience, but a part of their consciousness is still inside of the astral form. Okay, you guys need to understand this. With that being said, you can still make a connection with this person. Your physical body is not the real you, but because you have physical family down here, they may need help from the spiritual realm. They may need help from the astral world into the physical world, so they call in their ancestors, right? A very old practice that's practiced by Native American culture, indigenous cultures all around the world, African cultures, whatever. So sometimes you're trying to get things done down here in the third dimension and you can't get it done because you need help from a higher force. I'm not saying that your ancestors are these shamans, right? Some of our ancestors were alcoholics and drug addicts and all that stuff. But the thing is this, right? The ones who are in the astral world can actually help you, right? Because you have more ancestors than you think. You have tons of grandparents, tons of great-great-grandparents, tons of great uncles and aunts and cousins and everything that have all passed on. You never knew a lot of them. But you can actually access somebody in your family who was a millionaire, right? They knew how to run businesses, and you can actually call on that energy through your ancestral bloodline to actually help you, right? Open up a business or start a business or do some things financially down here in the physical world. Maybe you have someone in your family that passed away that was an athlete, right? And maybe you never knew this person, but you can call on that energy from the astral world by having your ancestor altar set up. You can call on that energy from the astral world to help you become a better athlete, right? So there's so many benefits to the ancestors, right? So that's what that is. Your astral form is the aspect of your consciousness that connects to the physical world and the bloodline down here in the physical world, which we call ancestors, or the astral form, right? That part of you connects down here to the third dimension. So that's important. That's what that is, right? So your soul has gone on, maybe to another body, right? To get a whole new set of ancestors, or has gone on to a higher dimension, right? So that's what that is. That's what the ancestors really are. They are astral forms, a small aspect of consciousness from a soul that has connected to an astral form that is left behind in the astral world. If you don't feed that astral body energy, the astral form will fade away, right? A couple 100 years, something like that, the astral form will fade away. Sometimes they have to go for themselves and they have to find energy for themselves because nobody on the third dimension is helping them grow. It's not feeding them, not giving them energy. So they have to go for self and do for self, okay? So with that being said, if you're feeding your ancestors, especially the whole lineage of ancestors, and you do that by feeding just one of them, you can actually feed the whole lineage of ancestors, known and unknown. If you do that, then as they evolve and get stronger, your DNA gets stronger, right? Your DNA grows and gets stronger, and you get stronger in the physical and in the spiritual, right? So the first line of defense for anybody down here in the third dimension, if you're going to be spiritual, is you must have an ancestor altar. Every culture honors their ancestors. So if you skip ancestors, you went straight to the gods. That's cool, but you don't want to do that. You want to honor your ancestors because when you do this, you're actually doing energy work, right? You're doing energy work and you're doing spiritual work every time you do this. Every time you engage with somebody that's on the other side, and you have instant access to these people because you have their blood, right? You have their blood. So the ancestors are very important. You can't just bypass the ancestors and go start working on a God altar. You can if you want to, but you're doing it backwards. You're doing it the wrong way. You got to build a great foundation first, right? You got to build the foundation, and your foundation has to be something dealing with the ancestors, okay? So spiritually, your foundation should always be ancestor work. It should always be ancestor work, okay? From my perspective. Once you get your ancestors strong and you get connected with your ancestors, then you can start doing other magical work. You can actually ask your ancestors to assist you in your rituals, right? You can ask your ancestors to come around in a circle and protect you while you do a ritual. You can ask your ancestors to protect your money, right? Not to say that they're all powerful, but they have more access to the spiritual world than you do, and they can protect more things in the spiritual world than you can protect here in the physical world, right? Especially if you're just a basic magician and you don't know how to protect your money or your own personal energy, you can use your ancestors for that. And like I said, as they grow and evolve and they gain light and energy, so do you, because they are nothing but aspects of your DNA. So the data or the DNA that you have in your body, which is connected to the blood, connects to the data in the astral world or the ancestors in the astral world. Okay, this is very important to understand. So the next thing I want to talk about is some ways that you guys can build an ancestor altar. It's going to really benefit you. Okay, and it's tons of people. I actually kind of didn't even want to do this video because there's so many people out there, tons of channels that talk about how to make an ancestor altar, right? So I'm gonna give you guys a way that how I do my ancestor altar, okay? And the first thing I do is, of course, you want to get something natural, um, if you're able to. I know some people have ancestors altars outside in the back of their garage because it's more connected to Earth, right? That's some of the most powerful ancestor altars, the ones that are outside, like connected to a tree trunk or something like that in nature. Those are very, like in Africa, in indigenous cultures, other indigenous cultures around the world, a lot of their ancestor altars will be connected to some type of nature, outside or near a tree or something like that, right? But you live in America, people steal your shit. You can't just, people think you worship the devil. You can't always put your stuff outside, right? So that's why when it's in the house, it needs to be on something natural, right? So you want to get something natural, metal, wood, glass table is even fine. You don't want to get a plastic table. You want to get something something natural. So you get that. Once you set that up, you can put a cloth on there. Some people don't prefer a cloth. That's fine. You don't have to put a cloth on there. But if you want to, you can put a cloth. And what you're actually doing when you're doing this, you're setting up a dimension, an actual plane of existence for your ancestors to come to, so they can get energy and food and ancestor money and different things like that. Then you want to have the 4 elements up there, right? It could be earth, air, fire, water. For water, you can use water, actual real water. You can put juice up there, whatever the ancestors like, any type of liquid. Sometimes I put coffee for my grandfather, buttered milk. My grandfather used to like buttered milk. I put buttermilk up there. Water. You can put liquor, beer, whatever they like, right? Fire is a candle. Air could be incense, a feather. It could be something like that. It could also be your words, could be air, right? Depending on what you're saying, your prayers you say to your ancestors could be air. So we got water, fire, air, earth could be a plant. It could be your own actual DNA, right? You can also do that, right? You can put a plant up there. Some people put crystals. I don't really tell people to put crystals up there like that. But you can put crystals up there. It's up to you. I don't recommend it like that. But if you don't put crystals up there, you can put your actual DNA, right? You can use that as an earth element, right? So over a crystal or even over a plant, right? I recommend taking some of your hair, right? And just throwing that all around the altar. That's actually what I do, right? For the earth element, I use my own DNA, my blood, right, on my ancestor altar. And you can even use saliva, but nobody wants to put spit on the ancestor altar. That could be disrespectful. But what you can do is take your hair. Take some of your hair from your head, or some of the men that have beards, you can take some of your hair and sprinkle it all over the altar. That could be considered the earth element because that DNA connects you to the ancestors, right? Blood is considered earth element also. I have blood on my altar, right? That really raises up the frequency of the altar, right? We're talking some occult shit here. So you guys got to get with it. You can't be scared about everything. This is, brother, all y'all know, Brother Yosef ain't told y'all nothing that's going to hurt you. You know what I'm saying? It's your blood. Why would it hurt you? These are your family members, right? So you guys want to take some of your blood, if you can, just put a dot of it on your ancestor altar. More than anything, take some of your hair, sprinkle it. Every time your hair grow a little bit more, sprinkle a little more hair on the ancestor altar. Right? Just sprinkle it around the ancestor altar, near the pictures, whatever. That can be considered the earth element also. So I give you guys a big secret right there. In indigenous cultures, when they do their ancestor altar, especially in Africa, they actually take blood, right? They'll take the blood of each child when the child is born, and they'll add that child's blood to the ancestor altar. So that child can be continuously connected to its ancestors, right? I have took some of my daughter's DNA and put it on the ancestor altar also, right? Maybe she fell and scraped her arm. Dad being a scientist, give me some of that blood, rub it on the ancestor altar. I've taken some of my daughter's hair also and sprinkle it on the ancestor altar, okay? So she can be forever protected and guarded by her ancestors. So that could be your earth, air, fire, water, spirit. So I gave you guys a secret that you can use for earth. Once you do that, you want to take pictures. If you don't have pictures, you want to ask your family members of the names of these people, individuals. One ancestor that passed away can connect you to all the ancestors. Okay, depending on what side of the family it is, but you're gonna need one from both sides of the family. I don't care how messed up your family was. All these people created you, right? So at least get one person from both sides of the family, so you can get all your ancestors in. If you don't want to deal with that one side of the family, cool, it is what it is, because some people can't, right? Some people can't deal with the other side of the family because they never knew their father or their mother. So even if you were adopted, right, you can take your adopted family and still connect that. Use that as an ancestor altar, right? So you're going to get pictures of these people. The next thing you want to do is go to the dollar store, get a glass bowl that you're going to keep ashes in. You want to burn ancestor money. Ancestor money is a very old practice that I have practiced for many, many, many years. The Asians have been practicing in this practice for many, many years. I remember way back in 2009 seeing ancestor money, right? And I didn't fully know what it was back then, but I remember buying some. And I was a little skeptical as far as it worked, but I remember the first time I burned some ancestor money. My grandfather came to me 2 days later in a dream and thanked me, right? And I knew that this stuff really works. So why do you need to burn ancestor money? Well, it's called the afterlife for a reason, right? It's called the afterlife for a reason. When you really know how the astral world works, the family over there still needs to get energy. Just like you need to eat food down here to get energy so you can sustain your physical body, they need energy to sustain their astral form, right? So they're not going to physically come up and pick up an apple and eat the apple, but they're going to absorb the energy of the apple, right? So when you put apples, oranges, which is the next thing you should put on your altar, right? So you got the 4 elements, you got pictures of your ancestors or names. And the next thing you want to do is get some food up there, right? So if you could put an apple up there every day, a couple apples, put some type of nourishment up there, right? Something with seeds in it. Get fruit with seeds. Don't get the seedless fruit and give it to the ancestors. Get stuff with real life force in it. Get squash. Squash is another good one you can put up there. You can put pepperoni sticks. You can put all different types of things you can put up there. You can put vegetables, different types of vegetables up there. Anything you think that the ancestors will like. Also, whenever you have a family gathering, the ancestors are very, very active. So if you have like a family reunion, the ancestors on the astral world are very active. And you want to bring a plate of that home and put it on the ancestor altar. So if you make actual food and you put it on the ancestor altar, how long should you leave it up there, right? Leave it up there for about 10 hours to 24 hours, if you can, for a whole day. Hopefully people ain't got bugs like that in their house. If you do, then leave it up there for a couple hours. But you want to give the ancestors time to absorb the energy, right? And whenever you put food up there, you want to just light a candle, tell your ancestors to come and dine. Put a fork and a spoon up there. Tell them to come and eat, and they'll come and absorb the energy. That's a fact. So, and remember I said, take your DNA, because your DNA is up there too. You're literally programming your altar for you and your family. Okay. So you can do this, and, you want to burn that ancestor money every day, right? For your ancestors. You don't have to do a bunch of them. You can do 1 note a day if you want, or more. And you can do this and feed your ancestors energy this way. Okay. As you do this and your ancestors evolve and grow, then you evolve and grow. So you're doing energy work. You're helping your ancestors. You're becoming like a Christ figure for your ancestors. They're going to come around you and protect you. And you can ask them to protect you. You can also take dragons, and you can take entities, spiritual entities, and you can create magical entities that protect your ancestors, right? Guardians that protect your ancestors. All right. This is something I have, right? And you can also work with deities like Baron Samedi, who actually protects the ancestors and guards the graveyards, So that's the way that I recommend that you guys work, build an ancestor altar. Okay. And you can go to this ancestor altar every day, even when you're not feeling good, you're angry about something, go to your ancestors and tell them, hey, I'm not having a bad day. Sorry, I can't talk to you guys right now. I got a lot on my mind. You know, just tell them, build a relationship with them. It's the same thing you should do with the gods when you build a deity altar. Just be real with them, you know, let them know how you feel and ask them to help you, you know. Like I said, it's not that your ancestors are spiritual, right? But it's like they're connected to the other side more than you are. So they can help you with things, right? They can open up things for you. They can block things from getting to you. You know, one thing I do with my ancestors, I ask them to block sicknesses from me. And I also ask them to help me with a lot of other things. So, you know, that's how you guys build an ancestor altar. And if you do it that way, it'll be a very powerful ancestor altar. And of course, you guys can add other things to the altar that you feel is powerful. You know, you put prayers on the altar that protects the family and different things like that. So that's why the ancestors are so important, and that's why the altars are so important. Let me share an experience with you guys about the power of the ancestors. Experience I had. So, you know, like I said, I make jewelry, and I'm not selling my jewelry right now because you know I don't have the time right now. But I've made jewelry real heavy in the past, and I had it in a store, and this one guy bought it. He said, "Look, I want to meet this guy who created this pyramid for me. You know, is there any way I can contact him?" So the lady at the store gave my phone number. He called me. I met up with him. Guy took me out to dinner and everything. It was crazy. I mean, lunch. He took me out to lunch, everything. He's like, "Look, man, I want you to come by my church." I'm like, "Church?" I said, "Bro, I don't, you know, I don't go to church, man." He's like, "No, no, no. It's not a physical church. It's a what you call a spiritualist church." I'm like, "Spiritualist church? That's interesting." He's like, "Yeah, it's like mediums and stuff. You know, they read people." I said, "Oh, interesting." I said, "Okay, I'll come." So I came with my jewelry to the church, and people was buying some, and you know, he was showing people my pyramids, and this is more after, right? But during the service, towards the end of the service, they had a medium lady come up there, and she was actually reading people in the audience, and I just knew she was going to call me because I know how my energy is. So anybody that really has eyes to see is going to know, okay, something about this guy. You know, I don't know what's going on, something about. So I'm sitting there with my head down, looking left and right, you know, trying not to be seen. And you know, I had on a brown shirt, and it had an elephant on it. And you know, she said, "Hey, you know, you in the back, you know, with the elephant shirt on, stand up for me." I said, "Oh God." So she says, "Young man," this is probably about 5 years ago, right? She says, "Young man, I don't know what it is about you." She says, but there's a crowd of people all around you, just standing around, like they're guarding you, like they, you know, they're really close to you." And I said, "Oh, okay." I said, I know what she's talking about. It's got to be my ancestors. I do heavy ancestor work." She's like, "It's so many of them. They're going out the back of the church." This was a huge building, right? She's like, "They're all going out the back of the church. There's so many of them. They're just following you." I said, "Wow." I said, "Okay." She can really see. She says, "Whatever you're doing, sir, to keep this group happy, keep doing it." You know, she's like, "Cause I see them." She said, "And they love you. They love you. They're all around you. They know you're the one in the family. You're the one." And I said, "Oh, wow, wow, wow." I said, "This lady can really see." And that's when I really realized at that point that when you have your ancestors around you, people that want to attack you spiritually that can do that, they'll think twice because they see this group of people around you. They don't always know it's your ancestors, right? And then they see your aura, right? So that's an experience I had a long time ago where a lady actually saw my ancestors around me, tons of them, right? And your ancestors will hoard you like that. They will come around you and protect you and shield you, right? So I wanted to just tell that story as some encouragement for people who are maybe thinking twice about doing ancestor work. No, do it. Do it for the benefit of your family. Another thing I recommend putting on your ancestor altar is skulls. Get a picture of a skull. Um, uh, I don't know how if I should say this or not, but I do have a real skull, right? I'm not going. It's not a human skull, but it is an animal skull, right? And I also take pictures of skulls. Like whenever I have this ring on, the skull ring, this ring right here has been totally infused with ancestor energy. Okay, totally infused with ancestor energy. I mean, this ring here, I'm telling y'all, it's powerful. And I have taken the skull, I've taken this ring and infused it with the ancestors on so many different levels. When I'm wearing this, I'm doing heavy ancestor work. Okay. Now, why would I wear a skull ring? You know, everybody should have a ring of power, right? And you power that ring by putting it on an altar. So this ring sits on the altar all the time. When I need to wear it, I pick it up. or I want the ancestors to be with me for a ritual or something I'm doing on a deeper level. So, you know, why is the skull so important? Well, the skull represents the ancestors. Okay, the skulls represent the ancestors. When you see these shamans with skulls, and they'll probably be holding one skull in their hand, and they'll be doing stuff to people, or they have these human skulls around. Those are ancestors, right? And they speak through the ancestors. Even back in the day, they'll say the Knights Templars were accused of carrying a head. They were carrying an ancestor. They were carrying the skull of the ancestor, right? Skull and bones, right? They were carrying the skull of the ancestors to empower them. Okay, to empower them. So I wear I don't wear this ring every day, but when I wear it, it's a very powerful ring. Okay, I cleared the ring out and I fused it with the power of the ancestors. And I did some things I'm not going to say, but one way I can definitely tell you guys is you can put this on your ancestor altar and charge a ring, right? You can actually charge this ring on your ancestor altar. Get you a skull ring. It doesn't have to, you know, it doesn't have to be just like this. It could be any ring with a skull, because, you know, symbols carry power. The geometric shape of symbols carry a frequency. So the skull in Africa and other indigenous cultures around the world, they always had a skull, whether there's Native American, indigenous culture, whatever. The skull represents the ancestors. And you'll always see these shamans with little animal skulls or human skulls around. And the skull doesn't mean that they are killers, right? It represents the ancestors, okay? And maybe the animal they worked with was their familiar. You guys got to think about that. So if they were used to working with eagles and they got a bunch of eagle skull necklaces around them, that's because their familiar was an eagle, and it probably still is, right? So yeah, get you also, if you guys can, get you a skull. It doesn't have to be a real skull, but get you a picture of a skull or some type of skull to represent the energy of the ancestors, okay? That's another powerful thing you can put up there, all right? So that's why the ancestors are so important, y'all, because it's the first line of defense in your spiritual growth, and it's the first line of defense in your magic, right? Sometimes before the dragon even has to defend you, or your cat or your snake or whatever you're familiar. And I'm going to do a future video about power animals, right? Your animals of power, and or also called your familiar, right? If you're doing these things, if you're working with these type of things, they can, before they even get to you, speaking of familiars, my cat just walked in the room. I got a lot of familiars. See, I say the word, y'all see how connected it is? I say the word familiar, here comes my cat. Like, she's like, what you need? What you need? You need something? So, that's actually my wife's familiar. My wife works with the cat more than I do. But, so, familiars are very important and very powerful. So, I want you guys to really understand that and you know, get you guys a familiar. We're going to do a video about that in the future. But I want to stay focused on the ancestors. So the ancestors are important. I hope that this video was able to really help you guys understand why you need an ancestor altar and why your ancestors are important. Okay? So any questions you guys have, you can email me at nulyfetools. And until the next time, I'll holler at you guys later. All right? Peace.